So, good morning, friends. In today's class, we shall just try to understand what are the ways by which we can write different types of research papers. What are research papers? What are the different types of research papers we have? And what are the different types of publications? And we will also try to understand how to choose the journal. What is the difference between paid and unpaid journals in today's class? And apart from that, we shall just try to understand how we can do quick publications as well. Okay. Research. Okay. Something new, a short communication, something. It's a short communication which will tell us, which will kind of an information to here. Also, paper. What are reviews? By name, impact of how this research could have been taken place. Uh, some kind of a research would have happened. Research would have happened in Vietnam. In case of we okay. Also, they don't. Many of the research journals doesn't attach much value to these review papers. Well, okay, especially in case of methods of research, methods of experiments. Okay, if somebody has done a lot of research on some kind of a coronavirus, let's say, take an example, and we can also publish a review paper based on on coronavirus. You can combine all these different papers and write your own review paper. Okay, so that is what is review papers. Paper is a combination of description about the experiment that is being conducted, which is original in nature, and that is In this case, you know, what will be the output of that experiment, and that sort of a research is known as, that sort of a research paper is known as, okay, we'll discuss. Can run up to 40 to 50 pages. So most of the journals, most important type of research papers. Now, let us understand different types of publications that we can think about. What are the different types of publications that we can think about? We'll just discuss that. Two ways by which you can approach. So the journal papers. Now, I'll tell you when we should use. There is a basic difference. These two are different things, and we will try to understand. Whenever we write a research paper, okay, that research paper either you have to send it to a journal, or else you can send it to a. Let's try to. What is it? Conference. Different authors, different researchers, they come and they discuss, they do presentation about a particular topic. You should choose the conference to publish a research paper. The outcomes of the research paper. When you have doubts about the kind of review that you have conducted in your research paper, when you have a lot of doubts about the kind of experiments that you have conducted, that is when your conference to present your research paper. And in this conference research papers, you should that we should choose. We should, there are a lot of conferences that are being conducted these days, and you should be wise enough to choose a proper conference wherein you publish or where you can present your research paper. Then you can get to know a lot of things about the area within which you are trying to. Paper that you are thinking of presenting there. During the conference, just go and do the presentation of your research paper, and there will be a deliberation, there will be a discussion. The reviewers would ask doubts during the presentation, which you will clarify. Okay, and they might probably will come up with some kind of a suggestion as to how to improve upon your research paper, which you can write down. From that, after the presentation is done, and the research paper will scrutiny by some expert researchers. They would read your research paper and they will come up with their own questions or own corrections, own suggestions, which will be shared with you after the conference, and you will work those doubts, clarifications that are asked by the reader. Usually, after the conference itself, wherein the adjudicators, the panel members would ask questions which you will have to clarify based on your own knowledge about the research paper. By the editor, the research expert panel members, the research paper is okay, then published in the research proceedings. Is what happens during the conference. Now, one of the important things that we need to understand for the conference. Usually you should be choosing such conference by known educators, a very legitimate or technology or in which organize the conference, and we should only go for conferences which are organized by some legitimate institutions or government bodies, such as this is are organized by such organizations like IITs, NITs, and IEEE will be much more better. And during those review process, you probably end up learning a lot of things on to how you can improvise on your research papers. Conferences. Now, let us talk about different types of journals that, usually as a beginner, in the beginning, aim for the there you can also learn your own research field, where which author, which researcher, your similar kind of research, maybe you can also write a joint paper with them and things like that. You can probably collaborate for the literature review, or even you can collaborate on the basis for the experiments that you will be conducting within your research. There is a lot of similar kind of researchers who are working in your field in the context. Okay, now what are these journals? Journals are usually these are the books which consist of, these are which are consist of, okay, so certain journals are printed journals, certain online as well as, you click on the journal's website and, you will different volumes of the journals published, upon entering your credentials there. Right. Page journal. Okay, so let us, what is unpaid journals and what is paid journals? You have to pay money to get your research paper published. And in my opinion, this is the money in buying something for you. Considered very important because there is the scrutiny of the research paper is oftentimes is not taken very seriously. Suppose say for example, email to these immediately will send you an email. Suppose if you will read the journals, we should oftentimes we should read papers and we should okay on um, research papers and what are the things that happens during the unpaid research papers. Unpaid types. One is like and unpublished papers, which papers are available to everybody. Those are known as papers. Subscription, wherein the readers will, by paying some certain amount of fees and subscription-based research papers. Okay, so before to understand the research papers, we will understand over here. The research has to be published. Your research paper has to be published. There are several types of databases, and these databases. Okay, so what are the different types that we have? All right. So this is about the index, and uh, your own research paper, and this research paper gets published in one of these journals. The other author tries to cite your work in his paper. That is known. More, the more people who refer your paper, your research paper for citation, for the citation. Suppose, for example, you have written in Journal of Rural Management, and in this, the cited your work in their own research paper. That means that will on a very higher side, because more and more people, are referring to your research. This can be measured by some paper. Like suppose, say for example, each and every journal has its own citation. And out of the research paper have been cited. So now, suppose we can take it like 200 papers have been published in our research paper, and within those 3 years, 25 different times those 200 papers have been cited. So using these two numbers, it has its own citation score. Higher the citation score, the better is there for the journal. If the lot of if to these papers and they are taking the citation from that journal, so obviously for all reasons, that journal will be that journal score is calculated for 3 years, whereas the impact factor is also calculated the same way as the citation score. But then, in case of impact factor the published during two given here in case of impact factor. Uh, there are most of these impact calculates the impact factor for different journals, and this different research journals. Okay, let's try to understand what is H index is like say 2.3, 2.5, 10, 15, and things like that. H scholar, you just go and upload your research paper with something called as DOI. Okay, so DOI is a scholar to identify that get identified something called as DOI. All right, DOI is that. Highest citations, only those citations are considered for calculating H index. What are the different ways uh, choose the journals? What are the different ways by which you can choose the journals? What are the different ways by which you can choose the journals? We will try to choose the journals to publish your research paper. What are the criteria? How to make a choice? So we will try to understand that. One thing one has to remember about publishing your own research paper is by means of several databases in which some of the databases are not so known. One database seems to collect, store the research papers which are of high value, given a lot of importance. Say, Imago. This scope and within this database quality journals which are listed in here. Let's suppose if the journal not, that you have to just check. Okay, you can always go into the Scopus Schemago website and just enter the journal name, whether the journal's name is there or not. Okay, so you can cross check that. If your journal where you are trying to publish your paper, if it is already indexed in the Scopus, then it is good for you. I mean, you can always go ahead and submit your research paper, because journal that thinking of publishing supposed to be a very Scopus scheme, or journals are listed there. You know, if you want to come up with a research paper and you want to know where I should publish, you can definitely look into the website of Web of Science. Several different types of research papers which are already been mentioned there, and you can choose one. Finding index, wherein you look for your paper within this index, wherein you can always look for some of your papers there. Thing which is how to choose your journal for publication. Second one is which you have to just find out. Okay, so whether if it is an open access journal, then there are fees to the journal, which will help the journal to maintain its own open access. Okay, so another of the journals are charged. You don't have to pay anything here. No publication fees here. But in case of open access journals, some of the journals do charge just to maintain their website. These charges will be very high, but then you can still think of making a payment there. Okay. Also, sign an access or based paper. Third journals is, and click on these certain sample papers and look at the title of the paper as well as and you should be looking at. Suppose, say for example, you have submitted acceptance may come up. You might have. Okay, so that seems like everything is happening in very fast manner. Let's suppose there are certain journals where the submit date is like say January 2020, and the acceptance date is like August, September, or even December 2020. So just to accept your paper, they are taking 12 months. So those are the journals which you should never think of publishing because they will take a lot of time. Okay, so that is how you help you to make a choice of the journals on quality. Obviously, you should be looking for publication in a very good quality journals. Now, there are 101 of journals here. Okay, if you just open a website, there are like thousands and thousands of journals which come. Now, the, so you basically find out by indexes. By looking at indexes, you will find out whether the journal is good quality or not so good quality of the journal is. Then the journal is. You basically the quality of the journal that you are thinking of publication. Okay. As I earlier mentioned, in case of open access journals, these journals they work on no profit, no loss, wherein they accept the quality research entire general public. So in a way that they are making the knowledge available to masses. They are making the knowledge dissemination very freely available to each and everybody. But inside open access journals, general public for for just for their own maintenance, or in case some of the open nominal kind of article processing fees, like say $45, $50, and even $100 as well. If the person the researcher is belonging to some developing country or low income country, let's suppose he's doing a research from a small African country which is falling under a low income country, that person will not be charged the article processing charge. Some of the journals, like, they will waive off the article processing charges for the researchers if he's belonging to some low income or low income get which don't accept all paper rates are on a very higher side. So as well. Research papers plagiarism rate is somewhere about 25-30%. You probably might have to rework on your research paper to reduce your plagiarism. Most of the journals would accept between. Another thing, the researcher's identification number. So say for example, you have a research paper and you publish that research paper. I mean, you submit that research paper in number one. Researcher's identification number. Okay. The ORCID number is the number which will help the research, or I mean the research paper societies, so that multiple submissions should not happen. One researcher should not try to submit the same research paper in different journals. That is what, to avoid that, they have come up with something called as ORCID number, wherein if you tie your submission, you cannot submit that same paper into the article. Okay, suppose say for example, another, you know, like your research paper in the second paper. At no point of time, as an ethical point of view, at no point of time, researchers should not the same research. Okay, so that will count for unethical practices which we should avoid by all means. Suppose, say for example, if the journal you have, if the paper you have already submitted one response, you please write to that journal saying that I am just withdrawing my paper. So it gets unsubmitted. The same paper can be submitted elsewhere as well. Again, tying up. So that, so this is what is the brief discussion of our research today. So that's